I was going to say happy Wednesday afternoon, but I'm not sure everybody is in their afternoon. So I'm just going to say happy Wednesday. We want to welcome you to our webinar to explore the ACE Evaluation Network database. This is something we are so incredibly proud of at Expanding the Bench. This is something we worked on quite a bit last year. We've worked with the evaluators to develop their profiles in a consistent way. We've worked with funders to jump on. And this is an opportunity for all of us to come together and walk through how you can use it. And we hope that all of you will. We want you to get on the Evaluation Network database, fill out your profile, explore, investigate what's there, and ultimately connect with some of our amazing evaluators. So we're really happy to have you here to spend some time with us to talk about the database specifically. But first, we want to do a little bit of an introduction of our team. And we'll move to the next slide to do that. Fantastic. My name is Elizabeth Waitzig. I am the co-director of Expanding the Bench and also the founding partner, one of the founding partners of Change Matrix. Change Matrix is the organization that leads and manages Expanding the Bench, and we've been doing that since 2018. We are a company that motivates, manages, and measures change for systems and communities that improve lives. And this is a huge part of our work that we're really, really excited about. My primary role on Expanding the Bench, in addition to the administrative aspect of it, is to work with fundraising. Is to make sure that we can pay the salaries of all these nice people whose pictures you see on this slide, but also make sure that we can continue to grow and develop and expand the efforts of Expanding the Bench. So with that, I'd like to pass it off to London to introduce herself, and then we'll keep going.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I see some familiar names on the attendee list, so it's fun to see you here with us today, and some new ones as well, which is exciting. My name is London Losi. I am the project director for the Advancing Culturally Responsive and Equitable Evaluation, or ACE Evaluation Network, and I am located here in southern Minnesota. And I will pass it off to Alina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alina Taniyuchi. I am the communications manager for Expanding the Bench, and I provide a lot of support throughout the project as well. And I am located here in Denver, Colorado. I will pass it off to Carla.
Thank you, Alina. Hi, everyone. My name is Carla Mendez, and I am the project manager for Expanding the Bench. So I help support all three of our major components, which we'll speak to in a little while. And I am based in Jersey City, New Jersey. Kathy, do you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. So exciting to see the numbers go up as well. My name is Cassandra Medellin, and I'm a content manager for Expanding the Bench. So I do most of the social media that you all have probably seen, and also post opportunities on the website as well.
Great. Thanks, everybody. We are a virtual company, as you can see by the various locations that people identified as where they reside, and I forgot to tell you where I'm from. So I'm living up here in Connecticut, somewhat close to Carla. We wave to each other over the city of New York, and we're really excited to be here. So we wanted to provide you on the next slide a little bit of an overview of Expanding the Bench. We don't want to assume that everybody on this call is intimately familiar with all the amazing things that we do. So we thought we would take a moment just to talk about the way we think about Expanding the Bench as having three projects and three major initiatives. The three major components of Expanding the Bench are that we really want to focus on the people who are doing evaluation and commissioning evaluation or funding evaluation. So we are hoping that in our focus on people that we are increasing the number of folks from historically marginalized or under-supported groups as evaluators in this work. We also look to enhance and promote and continue to develop the practice of culturally responsive and equitable evaluation, which we'll talk about in a moment. but so the people, the practice, and then the field. Because if we do all this work to increase the numbers of people doing this incredible practice, performing this incredible practice of culturally responsive and equitable evaluation, there has to be a place for them to do that. And so the field work that we do, creating the conditions for developing the demand for the work that folks do, is also a very important part of our work. So we have some specific programmatic elements for expanding the bench. The first one is Leaders in Equitable Evaluation and Diversity, otherwise known as LEAD. And this is a pathway program that provides some curricula support and other professional development support to folks who are looking to expand their practice of culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. So a little bit more detail there. We are in the third cohort for this. We have 15 incredible scholars who went through an application process and were selected because they really had an excitement about culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. They had some thoughts about how they might use it, and they were able to speak about how their lived experience from where they came and their backgrounds would really add to the way that they practice culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. So we went through a long process and identified this incredible cohort, and then they took part in a curricula, and the curricula is provided by American University. It's 2 courses and they're online. So these folks all work. I think almost all of them, if not all of them, did this in addition to full-time jobs. And so we really, they're doing amazing work, and they're doing a lot of amazing work. And so in the fall of 2019, they participated in 2 online courses, and the first one was about culturally responsive and equitable evaluation theory, and the second one was about the practice. Now they are jumping into their practicum site project work. This is an opportunity to apply all of the coursework that they took advantage of. The other sort of really, I think, very cool part of LEAD is that they're assigned a mentor at the very beginning. And so these mentors walk alongside of them throughout the course of their program and provide support to integrate Cree into their work, professional development support, networking. They're really there to enhance and provide space for them to explore their professional changes as they go through them. Advancing Culturally Responsive and Equitable Evaluation Network, we refer to it as ACE, is the opportunity to focus not only on the people and grow that network, but really help to develop the practice of culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. I probably don't need to say too much about this because London is going to give you an overview of the network, but to suffice to say a couple of things. One is that we have heard from evaluators that developing community is really important to them, that when they're out there practicing, particularly practicing Cree, there's a sense sometimes of isolation, or they just want to know that there are other people out there that are doing this work. And so we really want to make sure that ACE is providing opportunities for networking, providing opportunities for professional development, et cetera, et cetera. So we think we're doing that. And right now we have a call for qualifications out there. So if you've seen some of our social media posts or our Bench Remarks newsletter, you know that we are actively recruiting new evaluators to become a part of this network. We hope if you know somebody that should be a part of this network after this webinar, that you will find that CFQ and make sure it gets into their hands, because we're excited about the growth of this. Lastly, I'll talk just briefly about the fundraising and field building work. I've had the tremendous opportunity to communicate one-on-one with folks, learning officers, measurement and evaluation officers, mostly in philanthropy, but also in nonprofits, philanthropy in social sector, but also in education. And they are, by and large, really excited about the equity work that's going on in their organizations and within the project work that they fund. And so we have had lots of conversations about how expanding the bench provides tremendous opportunities for folks who are interested in equity to do something about it. And so if you are really excited about bringing diverse voices into your evaluation work, ACE is the place that you want to look. This is the place that you can go to get out of the familiar box of the evaluators that you may have been, you may have used or had relationships with for a very long time. So this provides an opportunity for folks to really operationalize or activate their pursuit of equity. Lastly, let's go on to this Cree slide. And it looks like there is a Q&A button. I'm just looking at the chat box. So there's opportunities underneath. It says Q&A if you have questions, and we'd be happy to have you raise them. I also neglected to say at the beginning that there will be a question and answer section at the very end of the presentation. So definitely save your questions or put them in the chat, because we really want to make sure that we are offering, we're answering your questions. We're making this as accessible to you as possible. This last slide that I'm going to talk about before I turn it over to London and the rest of our team is really, what is it that we're doing and why are we doing it? What is this Cree thing that we were talking about earlier when I was talking about practice? And so Cree stands for culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. It is for us a merger of two bodies of work. One is the culturally responsive evaluation and other is equitable evaluation. And we kind of push them together, noting that culturally responsive evaluation, having been around for a long time, really calls on us to incorporate context. So what's going on in the community, what social factors, historical factors, race, ethnic, gender, economic factors are at play or present when considering the value of a program in a community. It also asks us to think about a much more participatory process, so the people that are the most affected have the power to share their voice and to be part of the evaluation. Cree isn't one method, though. It's not a one-size-fits-all method. It's really an approach. It's a principle-based approach. And we have a strong belief that Cree should be infused into all evaluation methodology. It advances equity by informing the strategy, the program improvement, decision-making, policy formation, and social change. It should be noted that we didn't come up with this. It should be noted that we are not the only organization that promotes this by far. We have joined a very powerful community of organizations and people who are really promoting and infusing and integrating and challenging us to think about how we infuse equity into our evaluation. So not limited to, but including Equitable Evaluation Initiative, the Funder Evaluation Network, and among other, AEA, CREA, and many, many others. We see ourselves as partners in this work. So again, we're super happy to have you here and excited to tell you a little bit more about ACE and really walk you through the ACE database. So with that, I'm delighted to turn it over to London.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So as Elizabeth mentioned, I'll provide an overview of the ACE Evaluation Network, really short one. and then I'll hand it over to Alina to actually walk us through the database. So the ACE Evaluation Network is really a community of diverse evaluators whose mission is to both drive and support the practice of excellent, culturally responsive, and equitable evaluation, or Cree, as Elizabeth just described. And the network aims to become a primary source foundations, think tanks, nonprofits, research institutes, and other producers and consumers of evaluation turn to for evaluators who bring valued lived experience to their practice. Like Elizabeth just said, and to borrow that popular slogan, ACE is the place. So currently we have 82 members and we're growing. The most recent call for qualifications is currently open through April 27th. I will add the link to it in our chat. And more information about the network and the CFQ is available on our website for those who are interested. So then on our next slide, we'll talk with you, really the purpose for today is to talk about the database and to provide an overview of how to log on and create an account and really start to search for evaluators in the network. In an effort to connect evaluation partners and funders of evaluation with our ACE Evaluation Network members, Expanding the Bench launched our database about not quite a year ago, last summer. And the database contains professional profiles for each network member, including but not limited to their biographies, skill sets, and work samples. To help protect members' information, the database requires user registration. And Alina will walk us through that as well as some other aspects of the database. So I'm now going to hand it over to Alina to share her screen and walk us through.
Thank you, London. So as London mentioned, the website is where you want to start. And let me just make sure that I'm actually not logged in. Okay. So this is our Expanding the Bench website. It's expandingthebench.org. You can find it pretty easily. If you are going to join the network, I strongly encourage you to do it this way. So you'll see up here we have the different items that Elizabeth and London have kind of touched on. So the evaluator pipeline, you can learn more about the LEAD program here. And then also about the ACE Evaluation Network, you can find the CFQ here. But what we're really going to focus on right now is finding an evaluator. So under this Evaluators Network dropdown, I'm going to click Find an Evaluator. And you'll see that you have a couple of options here. So some of you, I know that there was mention that there were some familiar names on the line. I can't see the attendees list right now. So some of you might actually click on this already signed up button. But for a lot of you who this is the first time that you're going to try and explore the ACE Evaluation Network, you'll have to create an account because as London mentioned, we do require folks to have an account in order to access the database. So I'm going to go ahead and click Apply to Join. Take me a minute here. I'm going to delete this. That is from my many times of logging into the website. It's just remembering me. So I'm going to create a test account here. Just remember, you can either use your username or your email address to log in. That actually might be my existing one. So I am going to create this. Just run through these really quickly. We'll add in my LinkedIn. This is a website, if you want to, you can add it for your organization. And then make sure you select here what you're interested in. So if you were someone that is an evaluator and you're applying to become a network member, you would select this. For most of you on the call, you'll likely want to select this because you're interested in joining as a funder of an evaluation. So I'm going to click this. And then we also require you, just as an extra kind of precaution and out of our own interest too, to kind of hear from our constituents what you all are interested in terms of accessing the ACE database, we'll ask that you fill this out here. So I'm just going to add in an example. And then I will agree to the user agreements. Now, you probably want to check them, so we do have them open up here, and you can read this document. Again, if you are an evaluation funder, you want to look at this section here. It is some basic requirements that we just ask that you agree to if you are joining the database. And I encourage you to read those more thoroughly if you have any questions. So I will go ahead and click Next. Okay, and then I get to the Sign Up Next Step page. And so you see here again, this is some information that we have to kind of let you know that we're kind of in process. We have to review the applications that come into our database. and to please allow up to 48 hours for our ETB team to review and approve the accounts. We do this manually, womanly, so it does take us a little bit of time sometimes, but please be patient with us, it is coming. And also I do want to mention, we have had some folks who have joined as an evaluation funder, but we're also interested in joining as an ACE Evaluation Network member because they were not only working at a foundation or at a nonprofit who does evaluation, but they do evaluation themselves. If that's the case, feel free to please just send us an email. We're welcome all of your questions. There's a little bit of trickiness that comes with the database and how all the users are set up, so please just contact us if you have any questions about doing that. We're happy to walk you through how to do that. So I will go ahead and check my email because we have actually set it up to be kind of quick in this situation. So as soon as I get to this sign up next step page, I'll actually receive an automated email from the system just letting us know that the account is awaiting approval. But this is actually the email that I want to get in order to make sure that you actually have your account approved. So you'll see here we provide a few of instructions to get back into the database. I'm going to go ahead and click here. For the interest of time, we don't have to read through all of this, but that is what your email will look like. So I'm going to visit the Expanding the Bench website. And you can log in through a few different ways. You can go through member login, or I can again go to that Find an Evaluator just because that's familiar, and this will always take you, once you're logged in, that'll actually take you to the database. So now that I'm already signed up, I'm going to have my member login. And you can click this Remember Me button if you need to, if you're willing to, and this will just drop a little cookie in your website, and then you don't have to log in again when you visit the site. So I'm going to click that. You can also click here if you've forgotten or lost your password, and it'll walk you through some steps to recover that password or create a new one. Oh no. All right, let's try that again. I hope I did the right password there. It worked for me just a few minutes ago, so let me see what we can do here. Okay.
Alina's done this so many times, she has lots of different passwords.
I do, yeah. Sometimes the website can be a little temperamental, of course, when I'm on a webinar in front of other people. It chooses to do that. Okay, so this is the database. You've made it, you're here, yay. So you'll see here we have a little bit about the ACE Evaluation Network. You'll also find this how to use the search form that we have to the left over here. But you can just see here we have some different options that you can choose from depending on what you're interested in. So as I indicated in my kind of test creation profile, I am interested in looking at housing insecurity. So I'm going to choose here under focus areas, housing. And I'm just going to go ahead and see what this brings me. So after I click go, you'll see that there are 16 profiles available. So you can see all the evaluators that we have here that fit that criteria of housing. And maybe I want to add another layer to this. So maybe I know that my project is going to have some really large data sets. So I'm going to go ahead and just add this extra layer. Again, I have to click go in order for that to apply. But you'll see here, okay, now we have 12 members that fit both of those criteria. So I'm looking at the different profiles. These are different ways that you can check folks out. So you can kind of see where they are located. Some folks really want someone local. Some people are okay with doing a lot of virtual work or providing travel. So I will view, let's look at Christine's. And this takes you into the full evaluator's profile. So as London mentioned earlier, this is more of the extensive information that you can find about someone. So they have provided their biography. You can also view a work sample that Christine has provided. So you can look through this as well. You can view a resume. These are attached on our website as well. And then you can view some different criteria that we've heard is really important to folks to know kind of how do you judge who might be the right person for the job, or potentially even just to reach out and start exploring that. And you can also visit the website if they work with if they are with an organization, or if they have their own website, you can visit those. I'm just going to close out of these. And so you can see the different skill sets mentioned here. Now, say Christine isn't the right person, or I still want to find a little bit more in my applicant pool, I can return to this here and check out another person's profile. Okay, so let's say Randall and Christine are both great. I'm going to go ahead and reach out to them. And we have a few different ways that we've actually created for folks to do this. So for a lot of our evaluators who have LinkedIn profiles, we have their LinkedIn link to their profile as well. And then for everyone, we have a email address, the ability to do that. So all you have to do is click there, and that will bring you to direct email them. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. And you can also find these from the main page. Sorry, my Zoom controls are getting in the way. You can also find these from the main page in terms of visiting the website and contacting folks in those ways. All right, so that's kind of an overview of the search. Oh, and then I'll also show you if you want to completely reset your search, to say you don't want to look at those anymore. I'm going to click on reset my search, and that'll just clear everything out, so I don't have to unselect or deselect something. And you can use this again. All right, so I think that's about it with the evaluators database. Team, was there anything else that you want me to cover, or that maybe was brought up in the questions? I'm not able to view the questions and answer box showing my screen, so just want to check in.
There are a few questions, Alina, and I'll start to put a response to Allison's question here around evaluators and their global experience. I'll write a written response. But we do have evaluators, just so folks know, who work internationally. Due to limitations in space and size, we couldn't list every country and state that folks are working in. So as Alina is showing you right now on the screen in the search, you can search for folks who are working internationally and then click on their profiles to get more detail. You can also, as it's somewhat related, search by languages that they write or speak in as well. And then I think that was the only question related to this. The other thing I wanted to mention, I don't remember if you said it or not, Alina, but there is we do ask for a 48-hour window from the time that you sign up to review your user account and approve, 48 business hours. And so, so just so you're aware of that, it's not that anyone's ignoring you. If you won't get a response quite like Alina just demonstrated on the screen, but we will be fairly quick in turning around an account to you.
London, it looks like there's another question here about a feature in the database about references or endorsements for former or current clients. How is that attended to, or how does the ACE database deal with that?
Sure. So all of the members who are part of the ACE Evaluation Network have applied through a call for qualifications. And we have had 3 calls for qualifications thus far, 2 of which occurred while expanding the bench was under Annie E. Casey, and 1 that Change Matrix held last fall. So we currently have a biannual cycle for our CFQs in spring and fall. And as part of that CFQ, we ask that folks respond to very specific questions around their experience and their both their evaluation experience broadly, as well as their experience, their lived experience, and their culturally responsive and equitable evaluation experience. And we ask them to provide references. So we require 2 references for the application that we follow up on, and if there are any concerns related to those references, we check further into their application, and that may then determine whether or not they eventually join the network. In terms of other references, as Alina was showing you the database and what you can find in a profile, we really encourage folks to reach out to the evaluators themselves. There are work samples in their profiles, and there are those skill sets. But to get a lot more information, we ask that you also consider connecting with them directly. So there is a little email icon there that you can click on to contact them, and their phone numbers are there. And you can also view their LinkedIn profiles if they have one for more information and potentially additional references that may be on their LinkedIn profiles.
Thanks. So I'm happy to keep reading the questions because there's another really juicy one here. You ready?
Yes.
All right.
Type fast enough to get to Allison's question. So Allison, please let us know if you have any more questions related to international experience.
Yeah. So Chad would like to know, is this a resource solely to find an evaluator, or could larger firms search to partner with smaller businesses that provide evaluation services?
Great question, Chad. So the ACE Evaluation Network is comprised of members who are both small independent, medium-sized, and larger-size evaluation firms. So while membership is individual to the person who's applied, oftentimes evaluators may be working, and typically are, part of a team. And the size of that team varies depending on the size of the company or that they're working with, or if they're working independently. So as you view a profile, you may see on that profile that the skill set that's reflected in that profile is that of the individual or that of a team. And then you'll also see, as Alina's highlighting there on the screen for you now, you'll also see that we ask folks to share what their capacity is to respond to certain projects and ability to conduct them. So capacity is defined there as small, medium, and large, and that kind of indicates the amount of staff and types of budgets that they're working with.
So what if I was an evaluation firm that felt like I wanted to enhance my capacity? Could I come onto the database and search for someone that would add to my firm capacity to respond to something?
Absolutely. We are encouraging not just evaluation funders, but also evaluation partners to use the database. And in fact, our own members use the database to contact other members to respond to requests for proposals and other project opportunities that may come up, because they recognize that they bring different skill sets, and together in kind of providing a united front towards a request that they're bringing an even stronger approach to the work.
That's awesome. That's great. It sounds so inclusive. So I know, because I have talked to you, that people just went through a whole process to update their profiles and to make sure that they were consistent across the whole database. How often is this done? How often are we going to be updating the folks that are already there?
Sure. So I'll start with when a person first creates their profile in their application to the network. The information, once they join the network, feeds into their profile online. And so at that point, a profile is created new when someone joins the network. We then request that evaluators update their profile at minimum on an annual basis, so they can of course go in and update it as frequently as they would like.
That's great. It's great. So everything's fresh. Everything's up to date. That's awesome. So I don't see any other written questions here, but I'm wondering if we want to open up for people to ask questions in a variety of different ways. Does anybody want to ask one with their own voice and not their fingers? I guess that assumes that everybody's off mute. Can we confirm, panelists, that everybody's off mute?
I think Kazi may need to, if people want to raise their hand, Kazi can also allow folks in to ask questions.
Okay. And there's always the chat feature if that isn't fast enough for us. So please feel free to ask further questions. I think one of the things that's interesting about this is that when Annie E. Casey Foundation started this, they were envisioning a database. They were going through a process where they would hear that somebody needed an evaluator, and they would personally match an evaluator or a couple of evaluators to somebody who was looking for one, which is, I think they were effective, but it's a much slower and maybe much smaller process. And so people have been waiting for this database for a while. I think this is something that Cassie was really excited about, or Cassie and Casey were really excited about. And we were just so pleased that we could launch this year. It was something we're really very proud of. And I saw another question come through as I was tripping over myself.
There are a few questions coming in there.
Yeah.
So one is on privacy setting for funders. Alina, do you want to address that one?
I can't see the question. Could you share with me what the question is?
What are the privacy settings for funders? There aren't actually accounts that can be searched for funders. So
not this time, no.
Yeah, but there is a password required.
Yeah, so you do have to log into your account every time that you go into the database. And when you're logged in, it'll show members. If you're not logged in, it'll say members log in up here, or you can find it down here when you visit the site as well. So there is a password that is required, but your information itself is not out there in the open. Now, that's not to say that at some point we might explore creating sort of a funder database as well. For those who are interested, you would not be automatically opted into that. Do not worry. That is not something that we are intending to do. But there is some talk about kind of the equity pieces to having evaluators be anonymously searched, and they not being able to do similar to the evaluation funders. So we do not share any of your personal information. Sometimes we will share aggregate information, such as we have X amount of folks who have signed up for the database to search it, but we will not share your exact email or names associated with that information. Hopefully that answered the question.
Well, I know that we're on the move with that one, because that's a question we get quite a bit. So this is something that's under active consideration.
Mm-hmm. We got another question about, Will, you're conducting a search, whether or not you can select multiple skills and experiences, and the answer to that is yes, you can. So you can do a layered search like Alina demonstrated before, and now she's showing you on screen how to search for multiple skills.
We also have another question.
So when I do that on an Apple, I click the Command key. I believe on a PC, you use the Option key in order to select more than one. Or if I wanted to select a whole slew of things, I could hold down the Shift key, and that would select multiple. But you'll see with the two that I had selected here for skills and experiences, we have the search. Sorry, Kathy.
So our next question is, can you share any metrics about the value add for evaluators, like partnerships created, bids won, supports provided for the members on the ACE Evaluation Network?
Sure. We're working with our website developer to try to establish better ways to collect these types of metrics. Prior to the database's existence, referrals to the network came through email. Basically, people would email us and ask us to refer out. So it was a little bit easier to track when people were searching for evaluators and what type of skills they were looking for and how often. We are now building in metrics into the website around how to track when people are visiting and clicking on different things like contacting evaluators. But that doesn't necessarily equate to, was a contact actually made, and what pursued after that initial contact. So the best way we're collecting information at this point is based on annual survey of both our members and our funders. And based on our 2019 year-end survey of evaluators, we know that oh boy, I'm going to have to pull the numbers, but I think it was around 30 to 50% had responded to RFPs that came through the network. And about 25 to 30% of those folks were actually awarded contract. And the numbers were similar based on response that we got from funders who responded to our survey. However, our survey response is only about 30% for both groups. So it's not necessarily a full picture of what's happening in terms of bids and awards.
Yeah, and London, I'd just like to add a little bit to that too, because I learn a lot in my one-to-one conversations with funders about the use specifically of this ACE database. And we get a lot of the questions that you all have right now, which is great because it tells us that, you know, there are a number of people out there who are wondering about what the value add is. In fact, this is the year of visibility and value for ETB. I think what we're noticing is that there's some habit change that goes into using the database, right? So we're asking folks who are really pursuing an equity agenda to consider the relationships that exist. And if they are providing the diversity of voices in their evaluation planning and process and implementation, then great. If they're not, then we're asking them to think about doing things a little bit differently. And we know that when we ask people to do things differently, it's not that easy. It requires a real intentional, thoughtful commitment to say, I'm going with the unknown. And we understand that that takes some intentionality and some risk. And so what we do in these phone calls sometimes is ask questions like, are you on the database as a funder? If not, why not? Have you searched for an evaluator for a project that you're trying to hire an evaluator for? If not, what's standing in your way? Because we want to know what obstacles, if any, stand in the way from, this is a great idea, so this is something I'm going to use and act on because I think it's important. And so we're finding out a lot about what those obstacles might be, and sometimes they're internal and sometimes there's a lot of reasons why, but it gives us great information for continuing to refine this database, refine the profiles, think about the process for people like you who are on this webinar, excited about how to use the database for your own evaluation needs. And the more we learn, the more that we can make this truly valuable for folks, and then we can show it with our metrics. So I would really urge you to, once you get on, because I know you're going to, and you explore the database, I would really urge and encourage you to give us feedback about what that experience is like for you, because we can't learn and continue to refine and make this grow without that feedback. So that's my challenge to you on this lovely Wednesday.
And we do take that feedback into account. We bring any enhancements or improvements we can make to the database, and any information that people are seeking about members, we bring that back to them as well. So folks know where the interest and the need are. And kind of building off of what Elizabeth just mentioned, we have evaluation funders that work with the network that have exclusively released funding opportunities to just our network members, and that have sorry, I got completely distracted behind the toddler behind me. I was trying to hold it together. Okay, so besides having those exclusive opportunities, though, we also will post opportunities that people would like to share, not just with the network, but broadly. And so I wonder, Alina, too, if you would like to share where folks can post opportunities on our website, which is external to the database, but still accessible from our main website.
Sure, yeah. So whether you're logged in or not, you can always access this. So as Kathy mentioned earlier, she does a really great job of populating the site with opportunities, and we also ask that you share them with us and you have them. So we have a few different spaces in which you can actually submit. These are funding opportunities, so your RFPs, RFQs that often go out for evaluation contracts. Professional development might be a fellowship or internship that you're looking for an evaluator or someone who's really savvy, data analyst, something like that. And then we also have a general job board, which is usually our most popular for folks to share with us. So basically, you just select which one you want to engage with, and it'll ask you a few key questions around kind of information that we need in order to post up your opportunity. We also invite you to send us an email if you have any questions, or if you have something forwarded to you from someone else that you think, oh, this would be great for ETB to share out as well. We welcome that. But you pretty much just have to fill these out and then click submit at the bottom. And you can also find this if you're looking through the opportunities that we have on the website. You can also find kind of a link to this as well on the side here. So there's got an offering, or you can also submit it for an event as well, which might be a webinar. Especially these days, it's probably only going to be webinars or some sort of virtual engagement event. So we welcome you to do that. And again, we also really welcome folks to invite specifically the ACE Evaluation Network members to apply to specific opportunities.
I'm so glad you mentioned that part and that London prompted you to, because we recognize that people look for evaluators in lots of different ways. And the ACE database and the website, the ETB website, are both places where that can happen. So it's great.
Yeah, and we also, if we do get things shared with us via email or via the online system, as long as it works out with our scheduling, we usually try and promote those through either our social media and our newsletters that go out as well. We have a specific one for the ACE Evaluation Network that goes out in kind of alternating schedules with our broader Expanding the Bench bench remarks that go out at the beginning of every month. So we welcome you to sign up for that as well. And again, if you want kind of that extra visibility within our network, we welcome you to send that to us to make sure that we are sending it out to as many folks as we can.
Hey, Alina, can you show us where to sign up for bench remarks or the ACE Note if we haven't done that yet? Where would we go?
Sure. So the ACE Note is only available for ACE Evaluation Network members, but you can sign up for the ETB newsletter at the bottom of our page, no matter what page you're on, no matter if you're signed in or not. You can click this Get ETB Newsletters. We just ask that you provide us with your name, your email, and then if you're willing to, provide us with your organization and kind of if there's a particular program that you might be interested in learning more about, or if it's just expanding the bench in general, we welcome you to fill that out as well. You can also find it in the footer of our emails typically too, if you're sending something from our Team Expanding the Bench email.
Yeah, clearly we want you to come find us no matter no matter what. No matter where you are, you will find a way to find us. Or we'll find you. Let me give one more moment for that last lingering question out there. All right. Team, are we good? I just want to thank, first of all, my Expanding the Bench team. These are amazing, fabulous thinkers, doers. They've put an incredible amount of energy into this and time. I can't tell you how much time goes into creating a database and updating it and refining it and making sure it works for everybody. And this team has done an amazing job of doing that and then making it visible for everyone on social media, through our newsletters, in conversations. And so I thank them tremendously. I also want to thank you for giving us an hour of your time on a Wednesday. And we invite questions. You'll see the last screen is our website and our email for questions. We are always wanting to learn from you. So please come and explore, ask questions, join the network, search the database, hire an evaluator through ACE. You won't be sorry, I promise. And thank you again for your time.
And we'll be sharing this recording out with you with some follow-up information, including some links to our different branches of Expanding the Bench work and a helpful one-pager with the instructions that Alina so graciously shared with us through the demonstration. So keep an eye out for that.
Thanks, Carla. All right, let's go find some joy today.
All
Have
right,
a great
thanks,
day, everybody.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.